What's up? So, 1 year ago today, I decided I wanted to draw every single day for a year just to see what would happen. Here are the results. I went from drawing this to drawing this in just 1 year. Now, when I first started this, I had zero knowledge in the visual arts. I had no art classes under my belt. I had never studied any painting or anything. Like, I think I had done a handful of painting just in my free time when I was bored, but nothing serious. I was always the kid who would draw in class, but I stopped drawing when I got to like high school. But I really wanted to see how much I could do if I just committed to 1 full year of doing the same thing every single day. Because at the time, it felt like I had fallen into the trap that a lot of creatives fall into, which is you have so much like as a person to express and so many different mediums that you can pick. Like, you can be a musician, you can be a writer, you can be an artist, you can be this, that, like a dancer, like you could be anything, right? You have a million things to say. And because you feel like you have a million things to say and a million ways to say them, you never commit to any one specific medium, and you just keep dipping your toes in one medium and then moving on to the next and then moving on to the next until one day you're just sitting there and you have like a handful of rough drafts for a novel you wrote, like a bunch of random files for GarageBand, a bunch of unfinished drawings, like unfinished pieces, like you essentially become a jack of all trades, master of none. And even within these mediums, you still like can't settle on a specific path that you want to take. For example, I studied English when I was in college because I wanted to be a writer. Didn't know what kind of writing I wanted to go into, so I just kept trying new things. Like, one day I would write a poem, the next day I would write like 100 words of a novel that I had no intention of finishing. The next day I would like write a script. Like, I had so many unfinished things because I just didn't know what I wanted to do. So one day I was literally just like, I'm so tired of trying a bunch of new things and not seeing any of them through, and just like having unfinished project after unfinished project like haunt me like every single day. So I said to myself, okay, you know what I need to do? I just need to pick one thing, and I just need to do it for as long as I can. Don't ask me why I picked drawing when I studied writing for 4.5 years. Like, I don't know, it just made the most sense at the time, and it clearly has worked out in my favor, so I'm glad that I picked that over writing. So let's get into it. Day one. Where are you? I know you're right here. Right, day one. This is what I drew. It wasn't a huge, can you see that? It wasn't like I just sat down and I was like, I'm gonna create the world's greatest masterpiece and I'm gonna make the like greatest drawing in the world. I just found some printer paper that was on my desk, and I found the nearest pen that was also on my desk, and I just said, okay, I'm just gonna draw whatever comes to mind. For whatever reason, I drew a balloon because I thought balloons were cool. I liked the vibe of this guy. And I sat back and I said, that's nice. I like that. Also, while all of this was going on, my YouTube feed was just getting flooded with drawing videos because naturally this is what I was doing. And you know, the algorithm is good at picking up on like your interests as they change and all that. And a lot of these YouTubers were all kind of expressing the same thing, which was the best painters in the world, the best artists in the world, the best any person in the world ever was not born with the knowledge that they currently have to become the best of whatever, right? They just had that one thing that they did, and they did it a lot, and through repetition, they gained skill, and through skill, they gain recognition, and through recognition, they gain wisdom and knowledge and like all this good stuff, right? So I said to myself, that's funny, because that's something I've actually heard before multiple times, because like I said, when I studied writing in college, something a lot of my professors would say is, like, the best novelists in the world don't go to sleep without writing like 500 words, you know, or the best poets in the world don't go to sleep without writing like, I don't know, 5 poems or so. Like, you get what I'm saying though. Anybody who's good at doing something does it every single day. It doesn't matter if it's their best work, if it's their worst work. All that matters is that they do it and they practice it, because anything you can be good at is a skill that you have to practice. Crazy concept, I know. So I said, okay, I don't really feel like pursuing writing anymore. I want to draw, and I want to see if I can get better at that by taking these same principles that are being talked about by so many different established artists and applying them to myself. So for the first 50 days, I want to say, I thought, okay, I don't know how I'm going to draw every single day, but my loose plan was to just set aside like half an hour a day, sit down and like doodle, right? Literally like one of the most simple things you could task yourself with. So I did. I sat down every day for 30 minutes and I just pulled out a piece of printer paper and found the nearest pen that I could find and doodled. And when it came down to subject matter and picking what I wanted to draw, it always ended up being the balloon, because I was like, I don't know what to draw. Like, I literally just don't know what to draw. So this is kind of like a good stable fallback for me. And drawing the same thing over and over again is better than drawing nothing, you know? And so what happened was, because I was drawing the same thing every single day, it got boring, because I would get to day like 3 or 4 and I would be like, this is the 3rd day in a row I've drawn the same thing the same way. Let's like spice things up. Let's change it up a little bit. So every day I would add on something more, whether it was like another subject and frame, or a different position the balloon was placed in, or words or text, or like something. I would always just add something to make it more interesting every single day. When I started out, it was all black and white, and then I began to add color. And in the early days, it felt like it was a lot of fun, because it felt like I was exercising a muscle in my brain that I hadn't been exercising in a while. That muscle being just sheer exploration, curiosity, and artistic decisions being driven by a sense of wonder. To put it in perspective, right? When I was studying writing, after 4.5 years of just being told the do's and the don'ts of writing, the fundamental rules that matter but don't really matter, because the best writers subvert all the fundamental rules, but you can tell when a new writer doesn't have a good understanding of the fundamental rules. All of that felt like a very limiting thing for me, because whenever I would sit down and write, I would get this like unbearable writer's block, because the only thing in my head would be this voice going, oh, you shouldn't write that because it's not going to flow well, or it's not going to make sense, or like there's no logic to what you're saying in your words, and this and this and that. And it got to the point where I would just like sit there for hours and I like wouldn't be able to write anything. Which, side note, I think what that is the age-old saying of perfectionism is the artist's toughest opponent. And you might say like, oh yeah, that's just like an excuse, but you know what, actually, it was an excuse, I'll admit it. Anyway, when I was drawing from a place of curiosity and just pure exploration, there was nobody telling me that what I was doing was wrong or not as effective as it could be. It was just me trying things, figuring out what I needed to do, figuring out what worked for me, figuring out what didn't work for me, learning what I liked, learning what I didn't like, and getting to those conclusions all on my own, which I think is something any creative should keep in mind when they come to creating anything. So around day 70 to 80, sometime around then, I decided, okay, I've drawn this balloon enough. I think I kind of want to level up and try drawing some other stuff. So I went to YouTube and I just looked up some really basic drawing tutorials, like just the raw fundamental like shapes, colors, lighting, just like really basic stuff. I'm not gonna lie, some of it was like really bad at first. Like really bad. But because I was doing it every single day, if something was bad, I would just tell myself, that's okay, because I'm literally just gonna draw it again tomorrow, or I'm gonna try again tomorrow. And with each attempt, I learn more, and with each newfound thing that I learned from the previous drawing session, I was able to discover more about what was possible in art. Like I would try to draw a celebrity's face, right? It wouldn't look right, so I would go to YouTube and I would be like, why do my portraits look off? Or like, why do the eyes look this and this and that? Or like, why do the lips look blah, 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 blah? And all, like literally all the information you will ever need to do anything is on YouTube. Like any question you could have about doing something, someone has already asked in the past, and there's a tutorial for it out there. Like I guarantee it's out there. So in summary, I would learn something. Learning something would lead to a problem would lead to problem solving, which would then lead to me learning something else, and then the cycle would continue. So by allowing myself to actually make mistakes and be bad at something, I actually progressed like twice as fast as I did doing this thing on my own as I did when I was under someone's instruction, learning how to write under someone else's guidance. And you know, everybody works differently. Like some people need that guidance. Some people thrive when it's just like a self-taught thing. There's no right or wrong way of going about it. It's just like everybody has their own way of getting to where they want to get to. So days 100 to about 150 were just me trying my hand at painting. And I found that I really liked digital stuff. Like, I didn't want to try any like traditional painting, even though a lot of people say like those are the fundamentals, like that's where your groundwork lays. But I don't know. I had always liked the look of digital painting, and I thought the concept of it alone was just like so cool, because it's like you have these interactive brushes that act like real life brushes, but it's all digital. And I didn't have to spend as much money trying to practice, because with traditional painting you have to pay for all the paint, the canvases, the brushes, like all the tiny little things that go into making one piece. Whereas with digital, I have access to infinite canvases and infinite paint. And the way I was looking at it was like, every time I try to paint something, that's just like a rep. You know how when you do push-ups, you do like 1, 2, like that's 2 reps, and you get all the way to 10, and like the more you do it, the better you get at it. That's the way I was kind of approaching art, right? Like the more reps I got painting something, the quicker I would improve. So I did. I just painted every single day. And there were some days that I couldn't paint for shit. Like all I could paint was terrible like lines, and it made no sense, and it was just random shit that I threw together. And there were other days that I would really sit down and like focus for an hour or like 2 or 3 hours nonstop and really produce something nice. And I would be able to sit back and look at it and go, wow, I really did that. Like I would actually impress myself with how much I grew. And from days 150 to about 200, I just straight up, I stopped relying on motivation to get myself to paint, because at this point, drawing and painting had just become part of my daily routine. So I never woke up and was like, all right, like, what are we gonna paint today? Like, let's get it done. Like, I would just wake up and I would be like, maybe I'll paint this fruit. Just, why not? Just cause. Because if I'm already gonna be doing it, like, might as well try painting something new, right? And it never felt like I was forcing myself to draw or paint. It always felt very natural and organic. Like, it was just something that I did. Like, I didn't think about it, you know? They say it takes like, what, 23 days or something to build a habit, and then once you have that habit, it's just, you don't think about it. Like, you don't wake up every day and say to yourself, you know what? I'm gonna put on my shoes before I leave the house. That's a good idea. Like, no, you just put on your shoes because it's what you do before you leave your house. And that's what drawing and painting became for me. Like, I would just wake up, I wouldn't even think about it. I would just know that at some point during the day, I would do it. So at this point, I had all this momentum built up. I finally got the ball rolling. I was doing art every single day. And I hit this point where I was just like, what direction do I want to head in with my art? And I don't know if you can tell, I fucking love music. Like, I can't live without it. It's been a huge thing in my life, like, for as long as I can remember. But I don't really want to make music, so I decided, okay, I'm just gonna draw something that's like directly influenced by the music I listen to or the music that other people listen to. So when I first started doing commissions, I think this is really cool. I haven't done these in a while, but I really liked them when I was doing them. I would basically have the person who was commissioning me send me 5 songs, just like any 5 random songs, and I would listen to them, and I would construct a narrative around the 5 songs that they sent me, and whatever I drew would be influenced by those 5 songs. Almost like a movie poster for a movie if the 5 songs were telling a cinematic story, if that makes sense. So like, here's one, probably my favorite one that I've done ever. If you listen to these 5 songs, like in the order that they're presented in this playlist, you can kind of construct your own little story and have these songs be their own unique soundtrack to that story in your head. It's crazy. And then once I had a good grasp of the concept of the story that these 5 songs were telling me, I thought, okay, what would be a really cool frame from this story if it were a movie? Or what would be a really cool movie poster for this story? And that's how I went about doing my commissions. I did those types of commissions for a couple months, and then I moved on to wanting to paint the celebrities or the musicians that I listen to the most. So I listened to these albums that I listened to my entire life, but I would like revisit them with the same thought patterns I was having doing these commissions. Like, I would look at these albums through the lens of, oh, these are stories, and I have to consume the entire album like top to bottom as if it were a movie. And then I have to pick out the coolest frame in that story that my imagination could come up with and just paint it. And that became the source of a lot of my inspiration for a lot of my art moving forward. And now that's like all I do. It's like my favorite thing in the world, right? I just listen to an album and then I go, man, if this were a movie, how would it play out? Like, how would what the artist is talking about shape the scenes of this movie? And I just haven't stopped. It's again, I don't think about putting on my shoes before I leave the house. I listen to music and I draw. It's just something I do now, you know? And yeah, it's kind of crazy because I'm now reflecting on this year and looking back at everything I've done since I started. Because since I've started, my work has been featured in 2 exhibits. One in Taro Magazine. Shout out Taro Magazine, they're great. They give a lot of good representation to Asian American artists. And another one in the Children's Museum of Phoenix, like a legit, like physical space, like an actual exhibit, which is crazy to me because I never thought I would see my work in an exhibit. You know, like I wasn't sitting down and drawing these and thinking, yeah, I'm gonna draw these and they're gonna be up in an exhibit. Like I was just drawing them because I thought they looked cool. And then people came to me and said, yeah, we'd love to have your work out in this space. And I said, yeah, me too. Like, let's do it. And not only that, like I've met so many people through, like literally just through posting my art. And because so much of my art is centered around music, I've met a ton of musicians in my area just literally through sharing stuff. Like I never thought that would be, like I never thought I'd be having the conversations I have now with these musicians just because I posted something that I thought was cool, you know? Like on day 1 of this journey, like when I drew this, I was not thinking my work's gonna be in an exhibit, my work's like gonna get the attention of a bunch of cool people. Like I just wanted to make cool stuff and it just ended up the way it is now. Like that's crazy to me. And we're only gonna keep getting better. Cause obviously like, you know, there are some errors in my art that I can still fix. There are some things that I can still improve at. Like I'm never gonna reach my best work, right? That's what makes it so fun. Like the fact that I'll never get there is what keeps me trying to get there, you know? So I will leave you with some motivational quotes that I do not entirely remember. So I will leave you with me paraphrasing some motivational quotes that I've heard somewhere once or twice before. Rome was not built in a day. We know this. Rome was built in Rome, Italy, I think. No, but yeah, like if you're trying to do something, like anything, it's not gonna happen in one day. It's gonna happen over multiple weeks and months and years. And like I'm still, I don't know what I'm gonna be doing years from now, but I know that if I keep doing this every single day, something crazy is gonna happen. I don't know. Fingers crossed. But yeah, like you don't have to have a plan for how you're gonna do everything. You just have to do it and it'll happen, you know? Like you think Steve Jobs sat down one day and was like, I'm gonna make the Macintosh, I'm gonna make the iPhone, I'm gonna make the iPhone 2, the 3, the 4, the 5. You know what? He probably did, but not me. I said, I'm gonna draw this balloon. And yeah, and look at me now. I'm sitting in my room, talking to my phone. But let me just say this. Walking always turns to running, but you can't get to that point where you're running if you refuse to take the first step into walking. And walking is so, like, walking is so easy. I just bent this. Take the first step, chase your dreams and all that stuff too. I hope this video was at the very least a little inspiring. If not, that's cool. That's like I care. I don't, but if I did care, like that would be so sick if you just like left a like on this video. But yeah, let me know what you think. If you like the video, go ahead and like it. Comment too while you're at it. That's all. Yeah, that's all I had to say. Okay, go pick something and do it every day for a year. I'll see you later.